Hi, product marketer. Nice to see you again. It's been a while. Now, I've been thinking about how executives, so I'm speaking about heads of, directors, VP of product marketers, should not be using a CV. You shouldn't even have a CV. Let me explain. I used to have an amazing VP of marketing, and she's based out in San Francisco. And she told me, Hattie, for the last 10 years, I have not had a CV. And I was like, what the hell are you speaking about? And she was like, yeah, I have not had a CV. I've never had to apply to a role. And I said, well, how do you end up with like the most amazing jobs then? She said, it's all about my network. It's all about the people I've worked with and the people that I haven't worked with, but I've made myself known to them. And here's the thing, she hasn't been doing the mass personal branding. So she doesn't really do the whole like posting on LinkedIn. However, she does the one-to-one, which is slower, but it works for her and her personality, which is actually quite introvert, actually quite shy. And it made me think, this is really fascinating. So I mentioned this point at my PMA London conference talk, and people were like, and British people very much rightly were like, what? Like, you cannot have a CV at that level. And the more that I dove deep into it, the more I'm like, she was spot on. Bear in mind, she told me this like 2, 3 years ago, and she's absolutely killing the game. She's landing VP of marketing, CMO, like really prestigious roles through the people that she knows and the people who trust her, because she's built that trust and she's done the legwork in having the dinners, having the lunches, making sure that she's known. And at the executive level, this has to be you. I feel like if you want to stand out as an executive, especially as an executive product marketing manager, or a product marketing leader, you need to be the person who is known. So whenever there is a role going, they're like, oh, Hattie, like we need to hire Hattie because I've spoken to her a bunch. She is so switched on and I've seen her post online, and therefore she would be absolutely killer for our VP of product marketing role. And therefore you kind of bypass the CV and the initial kind of getting to know one another stage, which is basically the trust building factor, because you've already built the trust. And therefore you're jumping 2, 3 stages into the interview process, which is basically show your face, just validate the fact that they were right with their assumptions of you, that you can hit these specific points in the conversation to show that you actually know what you're talking about, and you can relay the results that you've had in the past, and you know to speak to their specific pain points. And therefore, what is your 30, 60, 90-day plan looking like? And also, what is the budget associated that you think would be appropriate for them to hit their goals, especially at that level where it's like, well, they actually attach a specific ARR to an executive PMM, and therefore you can go in negotiating hard with executive presence, with executive influence, to be like, you can own the discussion, where instead of them being like, hey, we need you to hit 50 million ARR this year, an increase of 25%, and we need a specific profit EBITDA at this percent, you could be like, okay, look, you know what? That is doable. However, in order to hit those points and those goals that you've outlined, these lofty goals, which is super exciting, I would need a team of 5 PMMs underneath me. I think we need to then attach a specific budget towards this. And that would look in the region of 1 million to 2 million in order to spend across our go-to-market efforts, and make sure that if you do want to hit that, that's the plan that I would put into place. And I would actually negotiate that ahead of me being hired. So is that a feasible budget? Is that a feasible plan that you could enable, so then I can be fully enabled when I join the company for success in order for me to hit those goals that you want to have? Like, fuck me, like, you blow them away if you had something like that, if you came in with a game plan, if you came in with that executive presence. And here's the thing, it's these sorts of conversations which mean that the CV is out the window. Most people don't know this, but I landed my previous CMO role through Twitter. Yes, through X, through Twitter, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I landed it through that. And here's the funny thing. I had put out a post about exiting my first company, which was in tech. I was there for 7 years. I built out a team. It was very profitable, right? Exited the company. I'd put out one post on Twitter at the time. saying, I've just exited the company. It was built on marketing. It was built on, hard graft. And, I was just explaining a bit about my story, about the business. And I explained, hey, you know what? I'm actually open to joining a company who wants someone who can work hard, gets results fast, isn't afraid to negotiate and stand up against founders if it warrants the business success, blah, blah, blah. So this one post generated 20 conversations with CEOs of insane companies. Insane companies. Let me be very frank. So at the end of it, I had like 5 offers from different companies. Like I could negotiate the salary so hard. And I was like, you know what? I love this. Like this is my life. Like this is what I want to do forever. Like actually forever. So then I just implemented the same thing on LinkedIn because I found LinkedIn to be way more positive, way more supportive. It's where you go for professional connections as opposed to Twitter, which I was actually more in like the software world, the tech world. I have a lot of very famous software developer friends. My ex is a famous software developer as well. So that kind of lent into how I got into that world. But out of that and building up, I only had like a community of, I think, 3,000 or 2,000 followers at the time, and it generated that. I was like, what can I do on LinkedIn, which is actually built for professional connections? Like, I could fucking crush there. And it took me a few years to actually really lean into my power because I had a micromanager who was terrible. And anyway, long story short, I'd recognized that I didn't need a CV, and neither do you. If you're an executive PMM, you do not need a CV. And if anything, I would actually probe you to think about how can you build yourself so you don't have to have a CV? How can you build yourself and empower yourself with a personal brand that you are so strong, that you are so trusted, that you are so front of fucking mind, that when someone needs to hire a executive level PMM, your name is at the top of the list? How do you generate that? Now, here's the thing. You can go around guessing, you can go around trialing and erroring this entire thing. And it's basically what I did. I trialed and errored my personal brand for a year, if not over a year, if you're taking Twitter into account, right? I've done the legwork. I know what works, and especially for product marketing managers within tech. Like, even if you're a B2C or a B2B, I know what works. I know the blueprint. And I've called it my impact framework. Now, if you're interested, I have a few slots available. I have 3 slots available for one-to-one coaching with executive level PMMs who want to own their career, who do not want to be one of hundreds, if not thousands, applying to a head of PMM role, applying for a VP of product marketing role, applying for a director of PMM role, or applying for, a CMO role even, right? You don't want to be that person, then contact me. Let's get a conversation in the books because I can help you get to that goal faster than if you're just trialing and erroring and putting out random posts and posting about your breakfast or your dog or whatever the case may be, right? So if you are interested, and here's the thing, this is not for everyone. Like, a lot of people aren't ambitious. A lot of people do not want to own their career or own their life. And here's the thing, I'm not for you if you're a reactive mode sort of person. Like, feel free to consume free content on Google, like, God bless. My sort of person is a person who's thinking about insurance when they have assets that they want to build and compound in terms of the wealth and how much it's worth over time. And if you see yourself as an asset that is compounding over time, which you are, by the way, because here's the thing, later in life, later in your career, you are earning the big bucks, the monster money, where you can be a CMO with like $1 million salary range at specific companies, if not more. If not more, especially in considering bonuses. If you're at venture capital, shit, you're earning tons of money because it's all about the results that you get at the end of, selling, like acquiring and selling companies. Like, you are making the monster money in the latter half of your career. Therefore, you are actually compounding, because remember the day when you were on like the 20, 50K salary marks. Now you're on the 150, 200. Let's bump it up to the 500. and then you're on the million or like the 750, the million, whatever the mark is, right? Like that is feasible. If you don't think it is, go into Google and pop it in, like salary ranges for CMOs at specific companies. Like it's a thing. And here's the beautiful thing: you can use personal branding as a way to make sure that there are ways that you are constantly telling the market how good you are. There are ways that you are constantly building up your trust, scaling your networking or mass. So, like the VP of marketing that I know who did the one-to-one lunches and dinners and conversations, you can do that to not only one-to-one level, but you can do it to hundreds, if not thousands of people at any one time. That is the most highest leverage way to make yourself known. And if you are a PMM who is interested, if not a little bit curious, have a conversation with me. Let's just chat, because then I can learn about you, you can learn about me. And if it doesn't work out, then that's fine. Like, I'm totally here for you. I have a lot of free content online, right? Like, I can support. But if you are proactive, if you are ambitious, if you're a little bit like me, let's be real, if you're a little bit like me and you're like, I want to see what my highest version of myself is in this world. I want to see how beautiful life can be, how easy my career can be, how I can attract the most amazing opportunities with the most amazing team members. Then I want to have a conversation with you. Contact me. There's going to be a link down in the description below, or you can go to productmarketers.com, which is my website for product marketing managers. And if you are a senior, if you are a PMM leader, if you are an executive, I want to speak to you. So link is down in the description. If you are interested, ping me and let's get a chat in the books.